MacDonald sounds like a bloodline. Stewart sounds royal. Gunn sounds Viking. But when DNA is placed beside those names, the simple story begins to fracture. Some men with the same Scottish surname do share a paternal branch. Others carry completely different Y chromosomes. A clan name can point toward the Hebrides, the Highlands, the Northeast, or the borders, yet the rest of a person's ancestry may lead somewhere else entirely. That is because Scotland's deepest genetic patterns are older than its hereditary surnames. Names were shaped by fathers, estates, offices, alliances, and sometimes by people adopting the identity of the community around them. DNA records a much larger family tree. The 15 names in this story still preserve real history. MacDonald, MacLeod, Mackenzie, Campbell, Cameron, Stewart, Bruce, Fraser, Sinclair, Gunn, Douglas, Scott, Armstrong, Kerr, and Murray. But what kind of history does each group preserve? And why can one surname reveal a genuine connection while failing to prove descent from the person at the top of the clan genealogy? The first clue is hidden in the way Scottish surnames formed. Some began with a father, some came from land. Others came from an occupation, a nickname, or loyalty to a powerful family. In lowland Scotland, permanent family names became common earlier. In the Highlands and Islands, patronymics could keep changing for much longer. A man might be identified through his father or grandfather before one form finally became hereditary. The word Mac simply means son. MacDonald began as son of Donald, but that grammatical origin does not mean every MacDonald alive today descends from one medieval man. The clan system widened the gap. A clan was not only a biological family, it could include tenants, allies, dependents, families connected by marriage, and people whose security depended on the same chief. A shared name could express belonging as much as descent. That makes the first DNA truth surprisingly clear. Your surname may preserve one root into a Scottish community, but it was attached to a population whose ancestry was already layered. To see what the name can still tell us, we have to put it back on the map. Start with MacDonald, MacLeod, Mackenzie, Campbell, and Cameron. They are strongly associated with the Gaelic Highlands and Western Scotland, but they do not describe one interchangeable Highland population. MacDonald history is centered on the western seaboard and the former lordship of the Isles. MacLeod is closely tied to Skye and the Outer Hebrides. Mackenzie became powerful around Ross in the north. Campbell power grew from Argyll, while Cameron identity is rooted in Lochaber. These places were separated by sea, mountains, rival lordships, and different marriage networks. The Mac names began as patronymics, while Campbell and Cameron arose differently. Yet all five grew into political and regional identities larger than a single household. That is why two people can carry the same clan surname without sharing a recent paternal ancestor, while two people with different surnames can still come from the same local population. Modern genome studies support the geographic side of this story. People with deep roots in the Hebrides and southwest Scotland show distinctive regional patterns and notable affinity with Irish populations across the sea. That does not prove that a modern MacLeod or MacDonald is genetically Gaelic in some pure sense. It shows that water-connected Western communities, even as mountains separated them from other parts of Scotland. These 5 names therefore preserve a Western map more reliably than they preserve one family tree. But the next group exposes an even bigger problem with the idea of a single Scottish bloodline. Stuart, Bruce, Fraser, Sinclair, and Gunn sound unmistakably Scottish today. Their deeper histories reveal how Scottish identity absorbed people and names arriving through very different routes. Stuart began as an office, the steward who managed a great household. It later became the name of a royal dynasty, but carrying Stuart does not establish a line to that dynasty. Bruce and Fraser entered medieval Scotland through the Anglo-Norman world. Sinclair also came through a Norman name tradition before its history became deeply rooted in northern Scotland. Gunn, by contrast, preserves a name of Norse origin and became associated with the far north. This does not make a Fraser genetically French or a Gunn genetically Norwegian. A surname usually follows one narrow line, while every generation doubles the number of ancestral positions behind the person who carries it. After many centuries, one imported name can sit on top of a family tree built mostly from marriages within Scotland. That is the real twist. A name can remember an arrival long after DNA has been reshuffled through hundreds of other ancestors. Scotland did not remain Scottish by keeping newcomers outside. It repeatedly turned outside names into Scottish ones. If those names record integration, the names of southern Scotland record something else, a frontier where geography often mattered more than the modern national border. Douglas, Scott, Armstrong, Kerr, and Murray pull the story away from the romantic image of one Highland clan system. Douglas and Murray are territorial names, linking identity to land. Murray is connected to Moray, while Douglas became inseparable from its lands in southern Scotland. Scott began as a label connected with being Scottish and became especially prominent in the borders. Armstrong grew from a nickname and became one of the best-known border family names. Kerr is also deeply associated with the borders, although its exact linguistic origin remains debated. These were regions of estates, fortified valleys, shifting loyalties, and movement across a frontier that was never a genetic wall. Families now remembered as Scottish could have relatives and allies south of the modern line, just as Northern English communities could share older ancestry with the Scottish side. DNA detects that regional history. The borders form one of the major genetic clusters identified within Scotland, distinct from the Hebrides and the Northeast, but connected to the wider population of northern Britain. The surname Scott cannot convert that pattern into a single lineage, and Armstrong cannot prove descent from a famous reiver. What the names can preserve is the landscape in which a branch of the family became visible. Still, one biological marker really does travel in a way that resembles a traditional surname. That is where the strongest connection between names and DNA appears. In a traditional father-to-son line, the surname and the Y chromosome travel together, with the chromosome changing only gradually. That parallel gives genetic genealogy real power. A major study of 40 British surnames found clear paternal clusters within many of them, with stronger connections generally appearing in rarer names. So shared surnames are not meaningless. If two men named Kerr carry closely matching Y chromosomes, and documentary records place both paternal lines in the same district, they may share a male ancestor from the surname era. But the same research delivered a warning. Modern Y patterns often cannot identify the original founder of a name. Common surnames may have begun independently in several places. A line can enter through adoption, a name change, or inheritance through a woman. Some male lines disappear while another expands by chance. In a Highland clan, people could also take the chief's name without being his direct descendants. A Y-DNA match therefore supports a shared paternal branch. It does not, by itself, prove descent from Robert the Bruce, a Stuart king, a Viking settler, or the first chief named MacDonald. A mismatch can rule out that direct father-to-son connection, but it cannot erase every genealogical or historical connection to a clan. And Y-DNA follows only one line out of the many that made you. The careful route is short. Build the paper trail first. Use autosomal matches to find cousins across many family lines. If the question concerns an unbroken paternal surname, compare Y-DNA with documented men from that branch. Treat a clan project as evidence to test, not as a certificate. Once those pieces agree, the surname becomes far more informative. Yet even a confirmed paternal connection still leaves the largest question unanswered. What did the rest of Scotland's ancestry look like beneath all 15 names? A major genome-wide map of Scotland and the surrounding islands analyzed people whose recent ancestors came from tightly defined regions. It did not find one uniform Scottish genetic block. It found at least 6 major clusters: the Borders, the Southwest, the Northeast, the Hebrides, Orkney, and Shetland. The study mapped regional populations, not clans or surname lines. Some boundaries echoed the territories of Gaels, Britons, Picts, and Norse communities. The Southwest and Hebrides showed strong links with Irish clusters. Orkney and Shetland carried the clearest Norwegian-like ancestry, reaching roughly 1/5 to 1/4 in the Northern Isles. The Northeast, Western mainland, and Borders each preserved different patterns. These are population-level signals, not labels that can be assigned to every person with a local surname. A Gunn family that left Caithness for Glasgow, then married into Irish and English families before moving to America, may retain the name while its autosomal DNA becomes a record of all those later branches. Another Gunn line can produce a different result without either family being fraudulent. Commercial ancestry estimates add another layer of uncertainty. They compare customers with reference populations, and the categories can change when a company changes its database. A result called Scottish is a statistical similarity, not a measurement of national identity. But the regional pattern is real. It explains why the 15 names do not lead to one hidden ancestor. They lead into several historical Scotlands. A Gaelic West tied across the Irish Sea, a Norse-influenced North, a distinct Northeast, and a southern frontier connected to northern Britain. DNA did not erase the meaning of these surnames. It revealed what the names had compressed. So if you carry MacDonald, MacLeod, Mackenzie, Campbell, Cameron, Stewart, Bruce, Fraser, Sinclair, Gunn, Douglas, Scott, Armstrong, Kerr, or Murray, your surname may be a genuine clue to the route one branch took through Scotland. It can suggest a region, a social community, an office, an estate, or a paternal connection worth testing. What it cannot do is certify that you descend from a clan chief, a king, a Norman knight, a border reaver, or a Viking. Only records and matching DNA can support a specific family link. And even then, the surname represents just one thread. MacDonald is not a gene. Gunn is not a Viking percentage. Stewart is not proof of royalty. The deeper truth is more interesting. Scottish identity was built from regional communities that absorbed migration, loyalty, marriage, and change. The name survived because people carried it forward. DNA reveals how many different people stood behind it. Which of these 15 surnames appears in your family, and what is the earliest Scottish place you can connect it to? Share the name and region below. And subscribe for more evidence-based stories hidden inside